Right. Let's talk about money. Specifically your money. You ever stop at the gas station, see the price, and think, hang on, that can't be right? Or maybe you've looked at your rent, which seems to have developed a rather aggressive upward trajectory, and wondered who exactly is benefiting from this. Perhaps you've glanced at your retirement account, the one that's supposed to let you one day trade your soul-crushing job for a life of gentle hobbies and daytime television, and felt a cold knot of dread. These are the everyday anxieties that define modern life. They feel massive, impersonal, and completely out of our control, like trying to argue with a hurricane. Now what if I told you there's a company, a single entity, that is deeply, profoundly connected to almost all of these things? Not in a shadowy, mustache-twirling villain sort of way, but in a far more mundane and frankly more powerful manner. This company is BlackRock, and unless you work in finance, you've probably never given it a second thought. Yet it is arguably the most influential financial institution on the planet. Its decisions, made in quiet boardrooms and through complex algorithms, ripple outwards, touching the price of your groceries, the value of your pension, and the policies of the biggest corporations in the world. It's an invisible force with a very real impact. So, what is BlackRock? Simply put, it's the world's largest asset manager. Think of it as a colossal valet for money. It doesn't own most of the nearly $10 trillion it manages. It looks after it for other people. Its clients are a who's who of global capital, media group of diverse finance professionals in meeting, hands holding various types of investment documents at it distribute equally, pension funds that hold the retirement savings of teachers and firefighters, insurance companies, university endowments, sovereign wealth funds from entire nations, and yes, millions of regular people who invest through ETFs or exchange-traded funds, many of which are run by BlackRock's iShares business. They are the ultimate middleman, connecting massive pools of capital with opportunities for investment across the globe. The scale here is genuinely difficult to comprehend. $10 trillion is a number so large it loses all meaning. It's more than the annual economic output of every country on Earth, except for the United States and China. If BlackRock were a country, its assets under management would make it the third largest economy in the world. This isn't a conspiracy, it's just the reality of modern, globalized finance. And at the heart of this vast empire of capital is a story not of secret plots, but of a revolutionary focus on something that, before BlackRock, Wall Street often ignored: risk. BlackRock's story begins in 1988, not with a grand vision of world domination, but with 8 people in a single room, led by a man named Larry Fink. Fink had learned a very painful lesson at his previous job. He was a star bond trader who, due to a miscalculation of interest rate risk, lost his firm a staggering $100 million. This public and humiliating failure became the crucible for BlackRock's entire philosophy. Fink became obsessed with understanding and managing risk, believing that if you could accurately price the potential for things to go wrong, you could make better decisions. This wasn't just about making money, it was about not losing it in a spectacularly dumb way. This obsession with risk led to the creation of BlackRock's secret sauce, its crowning achievement and the engine of its growth, a technology platform named Aladdin. The name stands for Asset, Liability, Debt, and Derivative Investment Network, which is a mouthful. So let's just call it what it is: the central nervous system for a huge chunk of the global financial system. Aladdin is a massive network of computers and software that constantly analyzes portfolios, stress testing them against thousands of potential economic scenarios, from interest rate hikes to natural disasters. It's designed to give its users a god's-eye view of every conceivable risk hiding in their investments. Initially built for BlackRock's internal use, Aladdin proved so powerful that other financial institutions wanted in. Today, BlackRock licenses Aladdin to hundreds of other companies, including competitors, major banks, and pension funds. They pay BlackRock a subscription fee to plug their own multi-billion-dollar portfolios into this system. This is a stroke of business genius. Not only does BlackRock make a fortune from these subscriptions, but it also gets an unprecedented, real-time view of how a significant portion of the world's investment capital is behaving. It's like being the referee in a game where you also happen to sell all the players their jerseys and rulebooks. This technological supremacy is how BlackRock grew from a small bond shop into a global behemoth. While other firms relied on gut feelings and star traders, BlackRock built a machine. its focus on low-cost passive index funds and ETFs, which simply track the market, democratized investing for millions. But it was Aladdin that gave them the edge, cementing their reputation for prudence and stability. This reputation would prove invaluable, because when the rest of the financial world caught fire, everyone, including the government, would come looking for the one firm that had made a religion out of not getting burned. Because BlackRock is the world's biggest manager of index funds, it owns a piece of almost everything. Through the funds it manages on behalf of its clients, BlackRock is often one of the top 3 shareholders in the biggest publicly traded companies in America and the world. Think Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and JP Morgan Chase. This doesn't mean Larry Fink can tell Tim Cook what color the next iPhone should be, but it does give BlackRock significant voting power at shareholder meetings. This is stewardship, and it's where BlackRock's influence becomes most tangible, as it weighs in on corporate governance, executive pay, and increasingly, a company's environmental and social policies. This unique position as a stable, risk-averse giant has made BlackRock the go-to crisis manager for the United States government. After the 2008 financial crisis, when the system was collapsing under the weight of toxic mortgage assets, who did the United States Treasury and the Federal Reserve call to help clean up the mess? They called BlackRock. Larry Fink and his team were hired to manage the complex, poisoned assets from collapsed institutions like Bear Stearns and AIG. They were seen as the only ones with the technological prowess, thanks to Aladdin, and the market credibility to handle the situation without panicking. The same thing happened again during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. As markets went into freefall, the Federal Reserve once again turned to BlackRock to help implement its emergency bond buying programs, a key part of the effort to stabilize the economy. This role has earned BlackRock the informal title of the fourth branch of government, though that's a massive overstatement. It's not making policy. Rather, it's acting as a highly specialized, deeply trusted contractor for the government when financial plumbing breaks down. It's the expert you call when your basement is flooded with a substance nobody else understands. This proximity to power, combined with its sheer size, has naturally led to intense scrutiny. Climate activists criticize BlackRock for being one of the world's largest investors in fossil fuel companies, arguing its environmental commitments are just greenwashing. They protest outside its offices, demanding divestment. On the other side, conservative politicians in states like Texas and Florida have attacked BlackRock for promoting ESG, environmental, social, and governance, investing, accusing it of pushing a woke agenda at the expense of financial returns. Being criticized from all sides is the inevitable price of being the biggest player on the field. So, is BlackRock an evil empire secretly running the world? No, that's a cartoonish fantasy that misses the point. BlackRock isn't a conspiracy, it's a consequence. It is the natural result of decades of financial deregulation, the shift towards passive investing, and the increasing computerization of markets. It achieved its dominance not through backroom deals, but by providing a service that everyone, from a retired nurse to the United States Treasury, desperately wanted: a safe, predictable, and technologically advanced way to manage money and risk. It's a supremely competent, risk-averse, and some might say boring company that just happens to be bigger than God. The real issue with BlackRock isn't malice, but mass. Its influence is a byproduct of its scale. When a single firm manages nearly $10 trillion, its actions, or even its inactions, have systemic consequences. If BlackRock decides to emphasize climate risk in its investment analysis, as it has started to do, it can shift corporate behavior around the world more effectively than dozens of laws. Its quiet, behind-the-scenes work of asset management and risk analysis gives it a form of structural power that is more subtle, but perhaps more profound, than direct political control. It doesn't need to lobby politicians when it can influence markets directly. Ultimately, BlackRock's story is a reflection of modern capitalism. It shows how power in the 21st century is concentrating not just in governments, but in a handful of private financial entities that have become essential infrastructure. The firm's leaders are not Bond villains. They are highly successful asset managers who built a better mousetrap. The problem is that the mousetrap is now so large that it shapes the entire ecosystem. The challenge for society is not to slay this non-existent dragon, but to figure out how to live with a financial whale of this size swimming in our collective pond. The silent power of BlackRock is that it has become an unavoidable feature of our economic landscape. It affects your retirement, the company you work for, and the stability of the entire system. Understanding what BlackRock is and how it came to be isn't about uncovering a plot. It's about understanding the world we now live in, a world where the most powerful forces are often the ones you can't see, quietly managing the numbers behind the curtain, shaping our reality one investment at a time. And that, in its own way, is far more unsettling than any conspiracy.